Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Ruchir Kanakia, who is the founder of OneAssure, uh, which is a health insurance platform. Hi Ruchir, welcome to ELI.
Thanks, Priya, for having me on ELI.
I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Okay, I'm an engineer. Tried to go ahead and get into a corporate straight out of college. Realized in 7 months, very early in my life, that I'm not meant for large companies. Or uh, if you work for large companies, while you'll be able to make a lot of money, but it comes at the expense of learning.
Mm,
And I wanted to learn in the early days of my career. Hence, jumped to early stage companies like Exotel, Instamojo, and QMath. Spent
mhm,
roughly 7 years directly working with founders across all these three companies and learned a lot on the ground. Learned how to build a business by keeping your ears close to the customer.
mm,
And that's been my journey. After 7 years, it was about time that I wanted to do something of my own.
mhm.
Uh, Tried to start up first in the software as a service domain and realized that the problem was not large enough to excite me and
Okay.
the outcome would not be large enough as well, and quickly pivoted to doing OneAssure. And to a large extent, the entire thesis of OneAssure, or how we landed up, happened because of the first 9 months when I was trying to sell to insurance companies a software
Okay.
as part of my previous company.
Okay. So, is it because the fintech space is booming in India and insurance is one segment that is that has got a lot of potential to innovate? So, was there a angle around that? Tell us about the market research you did before starting this venture.
Okay, so a lot of it will go back to my background, right? I am actually from a Gujarati family who's
Mhm.
been doing business for about 3 to 4 decades,
Okay.
right? So, cash flow or your lunchtime or your dinner time conversation always revolve around business,
Mm,
right? And technically, businesses are built to make money, so that always stayed with me throughout,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
Now, I was fortunate to have seen what UPI did to payments back in 2017-16 when I was at Instamojo.
mm,
And I was figuring out categories, especially in fintech, where I saw insurance. The tech penetration was not there, even like it's not even 10% of what has happened in payments and banking today,
mhm,
right? So that itself was a large opportunity
mhm,
for me. Plus, if you're building a business, you have to have sufficient margins to cover your cost eventually, right? If not, maybe in the first few years, but
mm,
later on, it has to make business sense. You can't keep saying that I will figure out a way to make money down the line, right? So that is not something which gelled with me even earlier, and that is what made me narrow down to the entire business idea and model of OneAssure. The second
mm,
part was my insights on what Indian consumers typically pay for, right? Most of us don't want to pay for software, right? We're used to getting software for free, and we've not
mm,
gotten used to paying for software, but we are
mhm.
very used to paying for services,
Right.
right? If there is any element of services, like most of us would have someone who would clean our cars, to folks who would work at our home, or
Mm,
there is a driver, and we are
mm,
more than happy to pay more for our convenience.
right.
So that struck a chord with me.
Okay. Okay.
And that is when I realized that insurance was ripe for disruption if someone builds it the right way, keeps the end customer in mind, and designs a model around it
Mhm.
completely.
Okay. Uh, you said you started with a SaaS venture initially and
Yes.
then pivoted to insurance. So, can you also tell us why did you pick SaaS to do something? You know,
Okay. See, being an engineer, right, the simplest thing I could fall back to was build a software product and sell to enterprises. If you look at my previous companies, also I've sold to large companies and small medium enterprises for a good part of 5 years out of the 7 years of my career.
Okay.
7.5 years of my career, which
Okay.
meant I was playing to my strengths. While I did achieve early success by getting to work with three large insurance companies,
Mm,
but I saw that while I wanted to sell a product, they wanted services from me.
mm,
So there was a big disconnect. Money could be made,
mm.
but I wasn't enjoying doing that,
Okay.
right? I wanted to build a product which could help the end user. Now, when it comes to an insurance company, the end user can be a customer, can be their intermediary, and these people were not benefiting when I was trying to, in the true sense, right? Or my impact wasn't
Mm-hmm.
immediately seen
Okay.
in terms of business metrics, in terms of usability, in terms of a lot of things.
Mm.
And that
Okay.
is what made me realize that maybe, and also the market was not large enough, frankly, right?
Mm.
How many insurance companies are there in India? Put together 50, about
Yeah.
50, 55. And then you have to think about going global. And
Mm.
especially in an industry like insurance, the regulations are different for every geography,
Mm.
right? Which means your platform has to take care of all of those things as well if you decide to move abroad
Mm.
or try to sell to global customers.
Okay.
So that made me realize that one, the market was not large enough for me to build a big business. Two, I didn't want to build services. I wanted to build a product, sort of enabled to a product-led business,
Mm-hmm.
and that was not happening. And three, my customers were enterprises, right? And effectively, I was trying to sell to a technology team in an insurance company or an IT team in an insurance company,
Mm.
and uh, the only way your product would succeed even in an enterprise setup is when the folks across the board, your clients, champion the cause, which I found missing in a lot of cases for wherever we interacted.
Okay. So, Instamojo, Exotel, QMath, I think these are some of the coolest and well-known startups in Indian ecosystem. Um, can you tell us what are the areas you worked on these startups, and what was something common across all these cool startups?
So Exotel was like, I joined them at a bootstrap stage, right? They had no, my house and office were the same place. And back in
Mm,
2011, 12, if you were going to tell that you were going to join a startup and you're going to take such a high risk and take
mm,
such a huge salary cut, no one's going to like encourage you. Trust me.
mm, mm.
People will be like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, uh, how are you going to manage? Sort of, these are the questions which will come to your, and even my boss, right, when I was leaving,
Mm.
uh, don't worry, if it doesn't work out, you please come back.
Okay.
Right, but these are things which typically changed after 2015 onwards. My
Uh-huh.
role primarily in across all these companies was to scale them from in some cases from 0 to 1. For Exotel, I set up operations in multiple cities.
Okay.
First set up the infrastructure, then went to sell the product also to the customer. Shipko was kind enough to give me the opportunity and used to drag me to fundraising meetings as well. So
Mm.
I got a sense of what it takes to raise money as well. So a little bit of everything.
Okay.
And uh, uh, if I were to be very honest, my offer letter had do whatever it takes. So we did whatever it takes for Exotel to become successful,
Okay.
frankly.
Uh-huh.
So after joining the company, I didn't have a formal offer letter until 1 year of when it had been almost a year since I was in the company, and it
Okay.
never even occurred to me.
Interesting.
Instamojo was also a very similar sort of a setup. I joined them as very early around the same stage as I joined Exotel,
Mm.
and I that is where I saw the funding boom. Right in 15, we raised venture capital.
Mm.
Uh, we were chasing GMV when GMV, and I was a little bit pessimistic on how are we going to sustain, right?
Mm.
And that question always stuck with me.
Mm.
And with Instamojo also, it was a roller coaster ride because I saw like spending money is also difficult. It's not very easy to spend money, frankly. Priya.
Yeah.
So we grew from 8 people to 108 people roughly in 6 to 9 months
Mm.
after getting funded. And then slowly in 16, we dialed down to 40 people and one floor. and then again had to move towards profitability. So frankly, everything in business, right from inside sales, outbound sales, channel sales, supports, success functions, those were the things which I took care of for the 3 years I was there. And in QMath, I joined in the founder's office, helping Manan solve any problems he had. Wherever needed, I would get pulled, and eventually went on to expand their teacher network across 80 cities in the country. So that was a growth stage role where there was already an established business model and everything. And the idea was to, how can you grow this very quickly, right? In the limit, with as little cash as possible and with the resources you have.
Okay. So one thing I'm curious, Instamojo and Exotel, they both went on to become very huge businesses, and you joined them at a very early stage when there was no venture at all, no business at all. So can you tell us, how did you, know that these were the businesses which will become big, or did you
I
made
didn't
it?
know that, yeah.
Okay.
No, I didn't know that. And I don't think so. Any one person can take credit to a large extent. It's a two factors, right? You can put in 150% of hard work. There's also an element of luck, right? It so happens that most of the companies I worked for are still thriving today also, right? But that's not the reality, right? Like 99 out of 100 startups are designed to fail.
Okay, so
So I
you.
just got lucky, you can say, in some manner. Secondly, one thing I can add is that whenever I thought from a business perspective, right? Because that was there. Like, how will these guys make money, or is there a possibility for them to make money? And the customers they are selling to, will they pay for the service? Right? These are crucial questions you need to answer or ask the founders, right? And hold them also accountable in some manner.
Okay. Okay. So speaking of money, next question coming to my mind is around your venture. Tell us what is the business model that you have got as at OneAssure, and how do you make money, or will be going to make money?
Yeah, we are simply a simple marketplace. We saw an opportunity by, see, one of the experience, let's go back to my experience at QMath and I'll stitch the story. QMath is one of the few edtech startups which only does math, if you think about it. And there's merit in doing one thing and going deeper in the segment and building depth in that versus going wide. So when we saw insurance, I saw a lot of opportunities. There's motor insurance, life insurance, health insurance. And goes back to my thesis that Indians like to pay for services. I was like, which of this has a high frequency claim, or where the claims will be a high frequency phenomena? And that answer came out to be health. Then the next question was that, where can I build a defensible moat, right? Or if I'm investing money, what can be effectively become my moat over the long period, right? When I look at 2 years, 3 years from now. And then I realized in health also, I needed to focus on personal health, which is insurance sold to individuals like you and me. Our company gives us insurance that is on the B2B side, where you sell to the HR team, finance team, or the founder of the company, and get that business in, right? Whereas here, you could possibly impact millions of lives because you're helping the end user understand the importance of insurance. You're making him understand why he should invest in one, because most of us think insurance is an expense and not an investment. And the third thing is that it's a complicated product. Hence, a consultative approach is required for this product. And all these three problem statements like fell squarely in my and my co-founder's strengths while we were trying to think about it. And it stemmed from, like, when you're starting a business, you would rather want to play to your strengths than weaknesses. So that's what, so OneAssure is a marketplace where individuals get connected to qualified sellers. And these sellers are folks who you can trust in your community, who keep your interest at heart, recommend, do the hard job of scanning maybe 50, 70, 100 plans, and come back to you with 3 plans which are most suited to you based on your requirement, based on your medical history, based on the money you can afford to pay per month. And based on all of these factors, they do that. And our job does not stop there. Our job starts there because we also assist during claims and ensure that until the money comes to your bank account during a medical emergency, that is what we are responsible for.
Okay.
Right.
So,
And that's what we do.
in other words, starting from discovery to buying to post-purchase service. So it's a one-stop solution for the buyers.
Perfect. One-stop solutions for buyers doing one thing, which is personal health insurance from selection to claims.
Okay. So what is our cut in the whole process? How do we make
Yeah,
money?
we get paid by the insurance companies whose products we distribute on our platform.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, there are qualified sellers, like in any marketplace model, right, who sell on our platform. We part, say, 70% of the revenue with the seller,
Mm-hmm.
and 30% is held back by OneAssure to
Okay.
give them the platform to use. We also have a product for the customers to now claim and do a bunch of things on that side as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's a common question I ask to all the platform-based founders. When you build a platform, it's a chicken and egg problem because you have to
You're right.
onboard the demand side, onboard from the supply side, and till the time demand is not there, supply people will not come, and vice versa. So can you tell us how did you onboard the first set of users to make the platform minimum viable product?
Frankly, if I were to be very honest, I went about onboarding the first 5 or 6 partners personally. I even today sell to 5 or 6 customers, right? The key is that we have to think from the partner's perspective and the customer's perspective. What does the partner want from us? And what does the customer want? What are his biggest pain problems?
Okay.
We have to think about both those problems and figure out how our product, technology, platform can solve that for them, right? Most mistakes, most people make this mistake that they want the partner to do what they want to do as a company.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put the lens, partner's lens and the customer's lens to solve, and your product needs to evolve in that direction. That's the key, right? So we got few partners, then got few customers, got few partners, got few customers. So typically you focus on one thing, maybe first 2 months, 3 months, focus on supply. Parallelly, you figure out ways to build demand for them. And that's how a platform scales, right? It's a balance between matching demand and supply, right?
So I was going through the website and I happened to see the one of the screens of the insurance platform. So it looked like a SaaS platform for insurance, which individual retail buyers can, go on to and log in and do their stuff with insurance.
Yep, it looks like that our website is undergoing a revamp. And 1 month from now, you'll see a very different website
Okay.
with a lot more features, a lot of more things, and it'll talk about everything I just spoke to you right now about.
So the next question that comes to my mind is, tell us about the problem statement, the core problem that you are solving for the end user.
3, right? Let's break the problem down. Uh, so if you look at our country, right, people at the bottom and people at the top, typically government takes care of the people at the bottom. People at the top have everything, they have enough resources to take care of themselves, right? The people who get stuck are the people in the middle, right? Now, these folks are the backbone of our economy also, right? They work for IT services company, they are mom and pop stores doing small business, they earn a certain income. And they need to ensure, they're like, if you notice, one of the biggest reasons why people fall into debt is medical debt. That you now have to, your savings get wiped off because you're paying for a medical emergency which you did not anticipate. Insurance solves that problem for them, right? Specifically, there are 2 things we need to protect: our life and our health. Right? So if you ask me, the problem is that most of us don't think insurance is an expense, or at least the majority of us, and not an investment. And we end up deprioritizing investing in it. And even before we've invested in insurance, we've gone ahead and done mutual funds or a bunch of other things. That's problem number 1. Okay. Problem number 2 is cost of healthcare is only increasing, right? If you notice, medical inflation is 2x of your current inflation, which
Right.
means at one point in time, and plus we have the lowest number of doctors for every 10,000 people in our population,
Mm.
right? One of the ratio is the lowest currently, one of the lowest in the world.
Mm.
Now, in that case, same thing, it's going to be the cost of hospitalization healthcare is only going to increase, which means, but our salaries are not increasing at that rate,
Right.
which means we will have to now ensure that sir, we will have to have insurance for proper healthcare in a private hospital or places where we need, right?
Mm.
The third thing is that we are a country of diverse languages, right? So, and a health insurance product effectively is a legal contract with some 40 features. How many
Mm.
of us have signed our employee agreement without actually reading it? And the answer would be more than 95%.
Yeah, true.
Right? No one likes to understand the terms and conditions of the policy. No one likes to understand. You say it's someone's asking me to sign, I'm signing it. My friend has signed it, so I will sign it.
Mm.
But something as critical as your health, you better be aware of what you're buying and why you're buying. And now, if I have to, maybe you're in a tier 2, tier 3 city and you're not understanding the language, everything is written in legal English. And it's become
Mm.
very difficult for a common man to understand what he's buying and what he can expect out of it.
Right.
Right? So there are two problems here. One, you can simplify the product itself,
Mm.
right? But with the advances of in medical science and more treatments coming in,
Mm.
simplifying product becomes very difficult.
Right.
Second thing is you educate the customer after the customer has bought the policy,
Mm.
because a 30-page document cannot be explained over 15 days, 20 days, over a 2 to 3 hour conversation which you had with someone who's helped you and discussed all the points with you. You
Right.
may have discussed all the major points, but the job of education starts after the policy is bought. And every month we should be sending some sort of engaging content to our customers
Mm.
to be doing that. And that and that too in a format in which they can digest it or they can understand what they have bought,
Mm.
not in the format which it is currently in, and preferably in the language of the. So give the power of information to the customer, let the customer ask questions, let him understand what he's bought, expectation is set correctly, thereby keeping the insurance company, customer, and the intermediary in complete alignment, which
Okay.
rarely happens today.
Okay. Gotcha. Having said that, can you tell us about the scale of operation right now? Uh, Product market fit is a concept that all the founders are worried about these days. So, can you tell us where we are in terms of product market fitment and what is the current scale of operation?
Yeah, so we started 1.5 years back. We applied for a license, if I remember correctly, in October of 2020 with the regulator.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the license issued somewhere in August of 2021. And the last license to build a platform came through in December
Okay.
of last year. So we work, we are, we've been able to do about roughly 20 to $30,000 in premium. In
Mm-hmm.
INR, it's 20-25 lakhs. We
Okay.
average out, and we're still building the product.
Mm-hmm.
So we are building the product with our customers where the entire experience can be digital.
Okay.
So another interesting point I can tell you is a lot of us assume things in our head and then build the product.
Mm.
The better approach is to get customers, understand, learn from them, and then design your product accordingly, especially in some of these cases. You'll be
Okay.
able to build your product much better in a much better way. And we follow the second approach.
Gotcha.
So we have like about 50-60 partners on our platform doing about 20 to 25 lakhs monthly premium processing today.
Mm. What are the challenges that you have faced so far while building and growing this venture?
Every day is a challenge. It's either a high or a low. It's like your heartbeat, right? It goes up, comes down, it goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down. So foremost challenge was to navigate regulations, being in a regulated industry, a bunch of things you can do, bunch of things you can't do. The whole process, right, is overwhelming for someone when they start up, especially your odds are anyway stacked against you to succeed, right, in this
Mm.
entire equation.
Mm.
And then regulation following, ensuring that you become regulatory compliant is also another task, right? So
Okay.
that was one of the challenge, right? We had to figure all of that out on our own. we were trying. Sorry.
Any pivots you made during your
No,
journey?
yeah, actually, we had to be patient. We learned to be patient, right? And I guess it's super important for something as critical as health insurance that efficient regulations are there. So it protects the consumers and protects the industry at large. So regulations are important, but I guess a lot of work can be done to simplify them over a course of time, right? That is one. Second thing is convincing employees to join and take a ride on you. Even though now the situation is not as bad as it used to be back when I started my career, but still now there is a problem of plenty,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So getting talent, getting them to believe in you, getting them to believe in your vision, getting them to believe on how this business is going to scale 10 years from now, when most of the folks are designed to look at 1 year or 2 year horizons,
Mm.
right? That's also a big challenge in itself, right?
Got
Then getting partners to trust you in a tier 2 tier 3 city, that boss, you will not shut down and you will ensure you're here to do this in the long term.
you.
Now
Mm.
any business can, like, cyclical issues or regulatory issues are always going to impact a business, but
Mm.
at least if you're building a business with a clear sustainable focus, then your partners also need to be aware of that,
Mm.
right? So initially you will see that if you talk to 100 people, only 2 or 3 people will
Right.
come work with you or join your platform, but that number over a period of time improves to 10, 15, 20, right?
Mm. Okay.
So that those were the broad challenges,
So
frankly.
next questions around that. You said out of 100 people, only 2 or 3 will, respond or speak back to you. So that is the whole process of entrepreneurship. You do 100 things, only 3 will work out. Especially in the early stages, you put in a lot of effort, and only some will pay off, and others will go waste, simply waste. So can you tell us, how do you still wake up in the morning and again excited to do something new? What drives you to be an entrepreneur?
Simple, your customer feedback. Like every time you sell a policy and a customer tells you, thank you for helping me, thank you, because of you something, my life, I was able to, like, I claim this amount. Remind comes back to an incident which happened when I sold to a customer, and 2 months or 3 months later he met with an accident, and he had to, like, pay almost bills worth 1.5 2 lakhs.
Mm.
He was like, thank God that you told me, and you told me to invest in this,
Okay.
and today I don't have to dig into my savings to pay
Uh,
for this expense, right? That keeps me motivated every day to come and do this, right? Because we are doing something which is bigger than us individually put together,
mm.
right? For me, I want to champion the cause of making everyone in India have a basic health insurance, where tomorrow if they fall sick, the expenses are not going out of their savings, but from the insurance company and the policy. And
So
whatever it takes to get there is what we are set out to do at OneAssure.
got you. So it's about making some changes in some people's lives.
Yeah, like best way that like you don't want to erode your savings, right? As a country also, you'll become more wealthy if the people of the country have more money,
Yeah,
right?
that reminds me of a story when there was a old man who was catching starfishes from the seashore and throwing them back to water. And one young boy was asked the old man, "Why are you throwing that? That hardly makes a difference." But the old man says, "That makes a difference to that starfish which I threw just now to the water." So yeah, it's about making a lot of differences to people's lives, and that drives you. Uh, Next question, probably my last question to you. Tell us, what is the meaning of entrepreneurship for you? How do you define the term entrepreneur?
That's a difficult one, right? Technically, anyone who does a business is an entrepreneur, right? In some or the other manner. Now, there are a lot of like, it's a tricky one. How do you want me to answer this one, right? Because I don't want to do disservice to one section of the audience, where see, entrepreneurship at the core of it is, there is a problem And as an entrepreneur, you like to find a solution to the problem and sell it to the
Mm,
masses. But at the end of the day, masses may not pay for the service which you want to offer, or the problem may not be a large enough problem to solve,
mm,
right? So you need to effectively, which may trans it becomes a business only when you figure that out, that
okay.
if people are willing to pay for your service.
Mm,
Before that, it's a problem and a solution,
mm,
right? So we should not jump the gun. At the end of the day, if you're a for profit business, you're there to make money,
mm,
and you need to figure out sooner than late rather than later on whether your customers will pay for your service or pay for your product,
got you.
right? So
So,
for me, one part is an entrepreneur does the job of identifying a problem and finding a solution,
mm,
and then that entrepreneurship journey transforms into a viable business when you figure out if the user wants to pay for the service, and the amount he pays is more than enough to cover your cost and maybe make some money on the side for your shareholders, which can be your employees, investors, and the promoters of the company.
okay. But at a fundamental level, it's about solving a problem.
Solving a problem.
Okay. My final question. Tell us what are the different lessons that you have learned through your entrepreneurial journey, which we can take away and apply to our ventures as well.
Plenty, yaar. Matlab, like every day is a learning, right? One of the decisions I don't regret is quitting my job in 6 months, 7 months
Mm,
after. When you have that feeling that uh, your time is better spent doing something else, your
mm,
time is better spent solving a larger problem,
mm,
your time is better spent seeing the impact on the ground, go
mm,
ahead and take the plunge, I would say. Right, when you realize that you're stagnating or your life is monotonous, you're not excited every day in the morning to go to work, and like you don't like your work or you
mm,
don't enjoy what you're doing, right? So one lesson is you should think about quitting immediately at that point in time. Don't procrastinate, don't delay the inevitable, and you will be good at in most things which you enjoy, right?
mm.
Because that passion will come and you'll figure out, and curiosity will be there, and you'll be able to learn and pick a few things here and there along the way. But that decision you need to make, right? And nothing is a free meal, right? So there is always a catch. If someone's paying you more or less, there is a
Mm,
catch somewhere or the other.
absolutely.
Just keep your eyes open and figure out the catch, and as long as you're okay with it, go ahead, take the plunge, I would say.
Absolutely. I think that is the first step of any entrepreneurial journey. Invariably, I hear this story. So people, uh, it's not about quitting job, but rather it's quitting a lifestyle that is not suitable for you and jumping into a lifestyle which is which has a lot of potential, and you are utilizing 100% of yourself, giving it all.
Yep, that's about it. Yeah, matlab, I guess one last thing I can add on that is that you're going to make mistakes, and most people are afraid to make mistakes.
Mm.
Right? Don't be afraid, because as long as you're not repeating your mistakes, you're good. You're always allowed to make new mistakes.
So
So keep making, because that's the only way people learn, right? But most of
absolutely.
us are afraid to make mistakes itself. Right? It's okay if you fail. There is more learning in failure than in success, in my opinion.
That is so true. On this note, I think we are up with the time. Thanks for your time, Ruchir, and our best wishes for OneAssure.
Thank you so much, Priya, for doing this, and thank you for having me here.